What it do? This is your boy ELOOO. We in the building with a great episode for y'all to tune in to today. I hope you got your coffee ready to sip, because today we got a special guest in the building with us. It's my boy Will with the analytics on sports. He has the numbers down to a T. Man, listen, you guys are in for a treat, man. So today we got Big Will with us. Will, introduce yourself a little bit more, man.
Yes, sir, man. Me and ELOOO go way back, man. We've known each other for a while. We're both diehard Hurricanes fans. Unfortunately, I'm a Mavericks fan, too. That hurts my soul every day now with Luka being gone. But, man, just growing up in South Florida, growing up with all these sports down here, man, just lifelong. Doesn't matter what it is, baseball, football, basketball. We breathe and die sports down here, man. So I'm just so happy to be on the show with you here today and talk a little football, a little mock draft action here today.
Little mock draft, man. Let's get to it, man. So the draft is in 2 more days now. We got 2 more wake ups into the draft, and it's a very interesting one, man. The main topic that I put up here that I want to see what you came up with is your favorite draft class in the last 15 years. This one right here, I went to going through them, and I was like, bro, I didn't realize this person and that person went in the same draft class. So when I started putting that together, I like, man, I need to find out which is my favorite draft class, man. So let's find out what you came up with, man.
Yeah, man, it's going to sound really, really cliche and really, really new school, but I think the best class of the last 20 years is the 2020 draft class. If you look at that 2020 draft class, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, I mean, it just goes down. Justin Herbert, I mean, that draft class is so stacked. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick. So you look at what he's done so far, some of those guys have already been to Super Bowls. They've only been in the league 5 years. Where some of these other drafts are very top-heavy, those first round, you get the number 1 picks, you get those first-round draft picks. And then after that, it kind of falters off a little bit, second-round, third-round picks, not as heavy. That 2020 draft, man, you can go all the way to the 3rd, 4th round, and you're still getting all pros. You're still getting guys that are making – Xavier McKinney was a 3rd, 4th round pick. So it's like that 2020 draft class is just stacked. I know you asked me the question about Mr. Irrelevant. Even Mr. Irrelevant in that draft was Tay Crowder out of Georgia, and he even started a bunch of games towards his career, starting to kind of falter off a little bit now. He's with Tennessee, of course, probably not getting the same looks as he did when he was playing with the Giants, but he even started 17 games in 2021 as Mr. Irrelevant as a linebacker. So as a position that really has some depth at it, even he got some quality starts back in the day for the Giants. Of course, we all know the Giants, that defense is not very great. But just looking at it, the 4th round had some great picks in it. This 3rd round, I like Harrison Bryant out of FAU. He was a great tight end of the year at FAU. Had some quality starts as well. He plays for Cleveland now, kind of falters in that system a little bit. But just the 2nd, 3rd, I mean, Zach Braun, the linebacker out of New Orleans, is right there as well. Just very, very great. A.J. Dillon was a 2nd-round pick. So it just goes on and on. Josh Uche, it just goes on and on and on. And J.K. Dobbins was in that 2nd round as well, man. So
wow.
That 2020, yeah. So that 2020 Cam Akers is right there. Tavon Diggs is right there as well. Jalen John. I mean, it's just so many names. Chase Claypool is in that draft as well. So it's just a very, very heavy draft in 2020. And I think it's a draft that everybody kind of forgot about because of COVID. Because that next year, 2021, was the COVID year. So a lot of these rookies, we didn't really get to see what they could do. Maybe it was a good thing. Maybe they didn't get rushed into these systems until that next year. I mean, look at I'm a huge Jalen Hurts fan. Just to think about him now in 5 years removed from that draft as a 2nd-round draft pick, a guy they probably thought lower on their draft boards, they're thinking like, he'll be all right. He's a scrambler, not really a pocket passer. Well, man, he's got a Super Bowl now. So
he got a Super Bowl now.
He's got a Super Bowl now. So it's just one of those things. 2020, I think, was one of the best ones. Of course, you could go a little bit old school and look at like the 01 draft, the 05 draft. I remember that as well. Growing up in North Carolina, of course, that was the John Benson draft. I remember going to that, seeing Mike Minner, Musa Muhammad, all those at the draft party. But I just think this 2020 draft recently, in my opinion, is one of the best draft classes we've seen in a long time.
That's facts, man. I was looking at the 2011 draft class with Julio Jones and all them, and I was like, that's a pretty deep class. But the one that I stuck with the most was the 2014 class. not only do we got the hometown hero here, Khalil Mack in that draft class, but if you look at that first round from Jadeveon Clowney all the way to Mike Evans, Justin Gilbert, Anthony Barr, Odell Beckham, a lot of those guys have had their time and shined at a high level. You know, all the way to even with the Ryan Shazier that got injured, pretty bad injury. He's still working for the Pittsburgh Steelers today, even with one of the most historical injuries. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this was a deep class. Johnny Manziel was in this class. He's gone and gone, but just the caliber of people that came out of the 2014 was crazy, man.
Yeah, you looked Kyle Van Noy's in that too. I'm looking at it with you right now. You know, that's another great pick right there. Jordan Matthews,
right?
Joyner. I mean, there's some great
Taylor Lewan.
I totally forgot about Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, but I mean, he's still right there. I mean, there's some great. Jarvis Landry was picked after Garoppolo. What?
Yeah. No, here's the biggest. Wow. Teddy Bridgewater was picked after all of them. Teddy Bridgewater was the last pick in the first round that year. That's crazy.
Last pick in the first round. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, just look at that draft. I mean, that's quite a stacked draft right there. 2015. Yeah. I totally forgot about that one. Yeah.
Aaron Donald comes out of this class. Yeah, the defensive lines and quarterback. Yeah, that was last year.
Mm-hmm. Because even looking at that, I got to tell you, that Mr. Irrelevant in that draft actually didn't play any games. So the Mr. Irrelevant question, Lonnie Ballantyne was the Mr. Irrelevant in that draft.
Was that a cornerback?
4 games played. Free safety.
Free safety. I remember this guy, Valentine. Mm-hmm. Oh my, he didn't play any up there in the NFL, huh?
Oh, no. About 4 games he played, Mr. Irrelevant in that draft.
Well, so the next question, when we made some bulletins for the show, I wrote the question down and I asked, what is the importance of Mr. Irrelevant? In which, of course, ELOOO sent the wrong question over to Big Will over here. The question was supposed to be, who do you think will be Mr. Irrelevant? But we all know the importance of Mr. Irrelevant when you got a guy like Brock Purdy in the NFL. You know, was Mr. Irrelevant and has been a starter for the last 2 seasons.
And he's getting it back too. He just got paid.
Yeah, he just got paid. And with that being said, the 49ers was able to maneuver to pay him because they didn't have to pay him in the beginning because he was Mr. Irrelevant. So they was able to get some pieces around him that was pretty dope, man. I really want to see how they're going to, in this draft, how they're going to replace some of the pieces that they're lost over there at the 49ers, as in a Jimmy Ward, Trey Greenlaw. They lost some pieces this year, and Deebo Samuel. You got to help Mr. Irrelevant out, so who you going to be throwing to over there?
Right. I really think that window's closed for them. I think it's over. I think that the guys that they've had, I think some of the guys have mutually agreed to leave that team. I just think it's over there. I think maybe they've committed a bit too much money to Purdy to not be able to afford some of those guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because that was the biggest thing for them. The biggest selling point for the Niners was that you didn't want to play the Niners, because every team that came off of playing the Niners lost. Maybe they got beat up playing the Niners. Maybe it was just a fight. Didn't matter if they won or lost. They were going to lose that next game because that defense was going to hit them up every single time. And now we saw it last year. I wouldn't say they're soft. I mean, they're still playing great defense, but it's different. It's not the same type of dog mentality on that defense as it used to be. And now teams are starting to see that, starting to take advantage of that as well. And it's just, I just don't see it. I just don't see it in that division anymore. It's starting to, I think time's going by. And Purdy, as good as he is, you just mentioned it, he had awesome athletes on that side of the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not the greatest athlete himself. I think in today's day and age, you need to move a little bit. You need to move out of the pocket. You just saw it with Gruden doing scramble drills in his little QB camp he's doing with these guys now. And that was a thing of the past. I mean, a lot of these quarterbacks were taught to be drop back, stay in the pocket.
Stay in the pocket, yep.
Now it's the opposite. Now it's like you have to know how to scramble out of the pocket. You have to make your reads down the field. You have to see those guys basically jailbreaking off of those routes to make those throws. And I just don't see Purdy doing it. I think it's going to be another rough year for those Niners. And I just don't see it in this draft to be able to get those pieces because they don't have the high enough draft picks. They're gonna have to make some
Right.
maneuvers. It's gonna be tough for them for I think for a long. It's I call it for me. It's the purgatory for like the Mavericks basketball wise. Right now we're in basketball purgatory. We're not going to see any greatness for a long time. It's just going to get worse, and I think it's going to be the same thing for the Niners. It's just going to get worse before it gets better. Until you get back up into that top 10 in the draft, nothing's going to happen with that team.
Right. I think this draft is top heavy and slot receivers, not number ones and number twos.
Right.
I think the top receiver in this draft class is the guy from Arizona. He's like 6'5", 6'6". He's a big guy. I believe that's the best number one that you have available. He reminds me of a Mike Evans. So, like you said, until the 49ers can crack back into that top 10, they're pretty much dead over there in California.
Yeah. No, I just don't see it. What I do see though, if we're going to do a little mock draft action here, I do
Yeah.
see a former team out of California possibly making some moves. I know there's been some talks about it a little bit, but it could be one of those things. I know we all love Shador. Shador is going to be one of those guys that comes in. It's going to be great. It's just going to be the system he lands in, and I know everybody wants
Correct.
to put him with the Raiders. Everybody wants to put him with the Raiders. I just don't see it. I see New Orleans maybe making a move up there. I think that makes more sense than Oakland, because with Oakland, you already have Geno Smith. Pete Carroll has never been a scrambling quarterback system. He's been more of a drop back, pocket passers. That's always been his case. Look at Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, going back to USC. He had Matt Leinart back there as well. It's just not going to be that system with Brady and all. It's going to be more of a pocket passer. What can we do? I see them drafting a quarterback later on in the draft as well, possibly Will Howard, something like that, more of a drop back. That Shao or Show or guy out of Louisville. I can't even say it. I've heard his last
Yeah.
name pronounced like 6 or 7 different times, but
Yeah.
he comes in with a lot of stars, like a Bo Nix. I heard a comparison to Bo Nix the other day with them.
Well, he's
But
a
I
slinger.
see them make yeah. But I
Yeah.
see one of those two teams making that move up into that top 5 to get Shador for sure.
Well, when we get to my Mark 5, that is what I'm banking on for in 2 days at the draft. I'm banking on in that top 5, there's going to be a major move, and a move like what you just said. New Orleans pushing up to add in. I don't see Shador going to the Raiders. I see the Raiders making the move like Ashton Genty, because their running back room is down to what, McCormick and Zamir White. You know, who are these guys? Sincere McCormick. Like, I don't even know who these guys are for real. I mean, they look good on fantasy football this season. But
Right.
if you got a chance to get Ashton Genty, I'm pretty sure that's the route they're going to go with Geno over there. When you got a passing game with Brock Bowers over there, you got Jacoby Myers, you got some guys that he can actually sling to. That's what type of guy Geno is. Now, let's talk about this mock draft, top 5 mock draft, because I think with my top 5, I did a mock draft 5 of a swing happening that I don't think no one else sees. So I'm gonna go first with my mock 5, and then I'm gonna let you go. So
Sure.
my mock 5, Tennessee is on the clock first. I'm a huge Hurricane fan, so I gotta let you know Cam Ward will be our first round pick going off this year, okay? He's going to the Titans. There's no question about it. I don't know if you've seen this clip of Cam Ward playing Fortnite. On Fortnite, this kid asked him, who's your top receiver? Who's your top running backs? He instantly named the Titans running back. He instantly named Calvin Ridley. And we all know Justin Jefferson is at the top of his game right now. So he sold himself properly. So I'm going Cam Ward to the Titans. Here's where I start shaking it up at. Second pick, Cleveland Browns. Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter will go to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland picked up Joe Flacco, which I truly think they believe in Joe Flacco. I believe in Joe Flacco. Jerry Jeudy just needs someone to throw to him. And Joe Flacco is that guy. Only thing with Joe Flacco is what you just said. He can't move. In today's time, with those defensive ends at the combine running 4.4s, 4.5s, we even had a 4.3, borderline 4.3 runner at defensive end this year. That's scary.
Yeah.
So will Joe Flacco make it the whole season is my question. So they're going to need something. But don't forget about the Will Howards and all of them in later rounds, because this draft is so deep with good quarterbacks that they'll end up with someone that by the second round. Pick 3, shaking it up again. I'm gonna go with the offensive tackle Mimbo to go to the Giants.
Wow.
Yes, Armando Mimbo. I'm putting him there because the Giants went out and grabbed 2 quarterbacks, Russell
They
Wilson
did.
and who was the other one? It wasn't Justin Fields. Fields went to the Jets. It was Wilson and
Jameis.
Jameis Winston, my guy, the gunslinger.
Yeah.
So, what do I think is going to happen in New York this year? They're going to be putting Russell Wilson in to throw those moon balls, and they're going to put Jameis in to just slang it until he start throwing those interceptions. You know, and there's going to be Malik Neighbors on the other end of those moon balls deep downfield. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring in some protection for him. You know, I think that's the smartest move for New York in that first pick. And then pick 4. Here's something that no one is accounting for. The Patriots putting themselves back in playoff contentions by building up a defense. So if this guy, Abdul Carter, makes it to pick 4, he will be a New England Patriot. The Patriots will put a edge rusher over there to go along with that guy, Bentley. I don't know if anyone's been paying attention, but the Patriots is only missing a quarterback since Brady left. Their defense is still stout. They got a running back over there. They got Stevenson. I try to keep him on my fantasy team every year because he's going to get his yardage. I believe Abdul Carter at the Patriots would make a move with that secondary that they got over there. That would be a very dangerous pick for them. And then pick 5. Here's my shakeup of the draft. Someone's going to tell me I'm crazy for this, but I believe that Jacksonville Jaguars is ready to make a move from Trevor Lawrence. I believe that they've gave him his chance this year. At the end of the year, they actually had talks of him being traded over the summertime. So I was like, okay, so we're going to see. I say Jacksonville brings in Shador Sanders to shake up the whole movement in Jacksonville right now. And if you put Shador over there with that receiving core and you add in another late round offensive lineman, Jacksonville will be making themselves a contender, man.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's quite a mock.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let me hear you.
That's doing it. Yeah. All right. So I gotta say I agree with the top 2. So Tennessee's on the clock. I think that's been just signed, sealed, delivered for a while now. I thought about this way back when Cam decided to go into the draft this year. Of course, we've seen him play so many teams. Miami, played at Houston, played at Washington State. People forget that he played for all these teams. He's got experience. For me, though, the one thing that lit the light bulb for me is if you look at Tennessee's history, man, they've had Moon, and they've had Steve McNair, right?
Right.
There's a Warren Moon, Steve McNair. It is time to replace that quarterback they've been looking for since McNair. Because since then, of course, you had Tannehill come through for a little bit. You've had some other guys kind of come in and stop in for a little bit. But I finally think they found their franchise guy again in Cam Ward. It's going to be just like the old days. We might see Tennessee win a few games, surprise some teams as well. They might even make the playoffs in this first year. Could be one of those sleeper teams that nobody's really paying attention to. I think that one's pretty solid for that first pick. Second pick, I think we both agree with that as well. How can you not take the Heisman Trophy winner with the second overall pick? Now,
No brainer.
what kind of career? Yeah, what kind of career is he going to have in Cleveland? Who knows? I mean, he's definitely going to get to play both sides of the ball like he wants to play because they don't really have anybody else on both sides of the ball. So
Right.
he's going to have that option to be able to play both sides because they don't really have an all-pro except for that. I think they still have Grant Delpit over there. They have some other good LSU corners over there as well, but he'll fit right in on the defensive side. I think that's pretty solid with that second pick. Third pick is for the Giants. I think this is where it gets a little crazy because, as you mentioned, they signed two quarterbacks, but the biggest thing that they couldn't do was protect Daniel Jones, and they couldn't protect for Saquon. That's why they got rid of him because they thought Saquon was going downhill, but it was your offensive line that was going downhill, and now we all see what Saquon can do, hurdling over people and running how many touchdowns in the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, putting up numbers in the Super Bowl. I think right here the Giants, they can stay solid at 3 or they can trade out. I think they have some options right there. If they're there, I think you got to take either Banks out of Texas offensive line or Campbell for that offensive line spot right there out of LSU. I think you got to get some offensive line help. I think you got to build it up. There's a lot of great picks you can go right there. A lot of big flashy names. I think with the Giants, though, you just got to get solid. You got to get that line. You can pick up some quarterbacks, some skill players later on in the draft, as you mentioned. But right here is where you got to plug that hole. You got to get some sort of protection for those guys, or else it's just going to be another 5-11, 4-12 season. Pretty bad. So I say offensive line, Banks, or Campbell with that spot. Now, with this fourth pick is where in my mock it gets a little crazy because the Patriots have a lot of options right here. The one name that jumps out to me, you could go Ashton Genty. I think that's a big flashy name for them. They need some help with the skill. Yeah, they need some help with the skill positions. They need some running back help. I don't think you go wide receiver here. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think you go wide receiver in the second and third round. You could go offensive line help, but the offensive line last year actually didn't look that terrible, protecting for Drake May. I think he did a great job behind center, even having to scramble out a little bit. And that's a tough division you're playing in right there. You know, you're playing against the Jets, you're playing against the Bills, playing against the Dolphins. I mean, they're all defensive set teams. And he did pretty well. I mean, with what he had. I mean, I couldn't even name a guy on that offense, wide receiver, running backs. I mean, it's just a bunch of misfit toys there in New England right now.
Right.
But if they get Ashton Genty, you got a dog in the backfield. You got a Saquon Barkley. Give him a couple of years. You could see that Saquon coming out of him. I think in this first year, you give him those touches, you give him those runs, especially when the weather gets bad up there in New England. He's gonna be used to playing out in Boise, used to that cold weather. I think that's a perfect fit for them.
Yeah.
Or here's the twist of it right here as well. Patriots have always been known to trade back in drafts. 2 picks later, you have the Oakland Raiders right there at 6, and
Right.
you have New Orleans at 9. This is where you could see that move for Shador. This is where these teams that need quarterbacks could jump up and get Shador right there, that 4th pick, because you're looking at an Oakland Raiders who needs a quarterback. You're looking at the Jets who don't need a quarterback. Panthers don't need a quarterback at 8. New Orleans needs a quarterback. So if these teams think that Shador is going to drop to 9 or to 6, then that's fine. But if they want their guy, I think either the Oakland Raiders are going to trade up. But we talked about that, though, too, with them already having Geno drop that
right.
system. And Pete Carroll leaves New Orleans at 9. I don't think New Orleans can wait at 9. I think they really have to move up. They have to get Shador with that 4th pick. They have to get him early, or he's not going to drop that far. Because as you even mentioned, Jacksonville is sitting there at 5. And this is where Jacksonville is another team that could make that trade out of that top 5 pick. Trevor Lawrence, man, you know, I think we all kind of want him to be good because we all thought he was going to be good coming out of Clemson. He's built like the prototypical quarterback. I mean, big, tall, long arm, can make those throws.
He can run too.
He can run. He's got some speed to him. It's just over the years, though, we've kind of seen things kind of deteriorate. I mean, it's just gotten bad and it's gotten worse. They've made the playoffs, but when they're in the playoffs, they don't look great. They don't have confidence. There's no swagger to them. It's some kind of weird. They're good. I think they know they're good, and then they win games. But then when it comes time to actually, you know, winning when it matters, they just kind of sputter out. They don't really do anything. We saw it last year. We saw it the year before. They get into these playoff games, these one-off games. They just can't do anything. I think with that 5th pick, you could go defense, which they've done now for the last 10 years. They've tried to stack that defense. They've tried and tried and tried. But if there's an offensive player right there, you take him. Or you take one of those offensive linemen to protect for Lawrence. I don't think you can go defense again. I don't think you can try to take a stretch at one of those offensive players because I think they're all going to be off the board. I think Ashton Genty's going to be off the board by then. I think Shador is going to be off the board by then. So right there, you only have your offensive lineman or defensive lineman. And we've seen what they've tried to do in the past, drafting these defensive players. I think only a couple of these guys have actually worked out. I think a couple of years ago, they went either 2nd or 1st overall with a defensive guy. I don't even think he's on the team anymore. So I just don't.
None of their picks.
I think, I don't think stretching at defense is the way to go. I think with Kevin Banks Jr. out of Texas, he's a massive individual, and I think if you
Yes.
put him on that line, he could be a Joe Thomas, he could be an Armstead who just retired for the Dolphins. He could be a
Yeah. I mean,
big centerpiece and something for the future. And even if Lawrence doesn't work, if you have to get rid of him, you have to move on from him, you still have that centerpiece of the offensive line that's making calls. That's a big dude. He's a junior too, so he's got a lot of starts there in that Big 12. Now in the SEC, when they moved the SEC, I mean, at 6'5", 315 pounds, he's only going to get bigger too in the
oh yeah.
NFL. So I think that's going to be a perfect pick for them right there at 5. But for me, that 4th pick is going to be the most. Where does Shador go? I think is going to be the question. I think it's going to be that 4th pick with New England. But for the Raiders to trade up, I don't see that happening because you have Tom Brady in that front office. And I don't think he's going to do anything to help the Patriots at this point.
And a lot of people forget that Shador NIL deal for the last 3 years was from Tom Brady. So
Right.
to think that Brady would make a trade up to get his guy is almost brainless to me. That's why I don't think that Shador would be on the board when the Raiders have they pick at 6 if they don't make their move earlier. Because someone's going to make a move for him. I've seen a lot of talk about Shador, his interviews, him being a spoiled kid or whatever they want to say, however they want to say it. The kid has put the work down on the table, man, and he's proven that he's one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. So in my eyes, quarterback-wise, you got Cam Ward, you got Shador Sanders, you got Will Howard, and Will Howard's in the mix heavy for me. And then you got that guy Tyler Shaw, the one from Louisville.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I like that guy. That guy was a gunslinger.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think one of the guys I think is a little bit overrated is that Jackson Dart kid out of Mississippi State. I think he's coming from a system, Lane Kiffin's system, where anybody can look good in that Lane Kiffin system because you're throwing the ball almost every single play.
Yeah.
And you saw what happened to him in the SEC. He got thrown around a couple times.
Yeah, go to the Florida game and watch his film.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That Florida game showed me more than enough. You have 3 times to win the game, and all 3 you throw a pick. That's pretty tough.
Now, my question to you is because I think the biggest argument with Shador is the quality of play that he had. Of course, when he played at Jackson State, the quality opponents, of course, he's going to look good against those guys. And then going to Colorado, it's not going to be the same as well because that whole conference kind of fell apart in that whole conference realignment. So that whole argument of who did he play against, who did he play against that whole career that made him look so good? So my argument to you is, comparing him to like Cam Ward, who went through the gauntlet. He played through the Washington State, played for Miami, even Will Howard, who played for Ohio State. Is it fair to sort of have that kind of criticism of Shador to say, who did he play against? And it's sort of like, is he going to be able to handle some of these pro defenses?
Definitely. That's definitely a question that I've thought of. My main thing is that's been my question about Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball.
Right.
So that is definitely a factor to take in because, again, there's different calibers of defense out there. There's different calibers of defensive coordinators, and the SEC is definitely at a high level. And when we talk about the NFL defensive coordinators, we're talking about disguising zone blitzes. The most dangerous thing to be called in the NFL for a quarterback, a young quarterback, is disguise zone blitz. You can think that this guy's in man and he drop into coverage and you throwing picks all day. So, yes, to me, the thing with Shador is if he ends up in the proper system, you said this earlier, for Shador, it's all about the system. Where he gonna end? If he ends up in Cleveland, he's in a bad spot. that's period. He's in a bad spot in Cleveland. Yeah. But if he ends up in a spot like Oakland, like Las Vegas Raiders, I think he's ended up with weapons to throw to. For one, Brock Bowers will be any quarterback's friend. He's a tight end that you can dump off to all game long. I don't care where you dumping off to. Brock Bowers is a quarterback's friend. So when you add that in, I think that's the proper system, one of the proper systems for him. The Saints, Chris Olave, I mean, those 2 teams would be the perfect system for him. So if there's anything outside of them, no, I'm a big man on, I truly believe in systems in the NFL. You could put the best players in the league. For example, Carolina Panthers quarterback. That guy is good. He's just on a sorry team. And he showed it this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He showed that he can make the plays. He can make the throws. If you give him, he got all these rookie receivers around him. And he looked like college level of his, I can't think of his name for nothing right now. Bryce Young. Yeah. Bryce Young. He looked like college Alabama Bryce Young this year, throwing to that rookie tight end, throwing to those rookie receivers, because those guys going all out for him. If you end up in a system that's trying to win, you're going to do good. So that's my take on Shedeur on that level. I do want to see the difference in caliber players that Travis has to take on, because he wants to play both ends. I don't see Travis coming on the field and covering a guy like DK Metcalf, coming back on the field and running routes against a guy like Sauce Gardner or somebody. These are the elite of the elites. And you're going to need some plays off, man. It's going to be package deals that he go in. He won't be going both ways all game long like that. It's going to be pretty tough for that.
Well, you got to play Baltimore twice, too. So how are you going to play both ways playing both?
Yeah, Chris Hamilton out there, yeah.
Ooh, and you got Derrick Henry running at you now on that defense. Lamar, you're gonna have to contain that. Yeah, I don't.
DeAndre Hopkins out there with Zay Flowers. Yeah, they adding on over there. Baltimore. Yeah, man. So that's what I want to know. I want to see the system that they end up in. Even to Shiloh. A lot of people's not talking about Shiloh. I think they think that he's fell off the draft board, but I believe he's a late round draft pick still. That guy was one of the hardest hitters on the defense, and he could play. They was talking about his combine coverages, and they were talking about man coverage. He's a safety. You rarely run man coverage with a safety in the NFL.
Yeah, you're floating. Yeah,
you're floating, and he's a guy that if he end up in the prosperous system, like a Baltimore Ravens system, he's going to be the nickel guy that's blitzing all game.
Yeah. And
that would be perfect for him.
Late round draft picks, you don't really, like you mentioned before, you don't have to pay him right away either. So they can make big plays for you. They can have a bunch of picks, and then when it comes time to pay him, you could be like, well, all right, we could pay you, or you can go find your money somewhere else.
Find your money.
I mean, it happens. That's it, man. I mean, this draft. I think it's going to be. Going back to that 2020 draft, there's a lot of hits, and I think this draft's going to be the same way too. It's going to be a lot of hits, a lot of guys you're going to see right away make impacts. Like
right.
System guys, once they get in these systems, get them a couple years. And I think Shedeur, if he ends up in New Orleans, I think he could have an immediate impact just because of that division is not the greatest division. I mean, you got Carolina, you got New Orleans. Gosh, the NFC South is kind of going. Tampa's in there.
Tampa, my team. We the best team in that conference.
Exactly. So right. And they're still sort of rebuilding with Baker and sort of getting their wheels back underneath them from Brady. So if he pops in there at New Orleans, I mean, you could see a 10-6. I mean, you could see a pretty good season right away from them just because of the names you mentioned. That system in there in New Orleans, you're going to be inside, so you don't have to deal with any weather. Plus, it's a party down there. It's going to be the same environment that he's used to. With his dad back in Colorado, it's going to be that type of vibe. It's going to be that type of swagger. If you put him on like the Giants, you put him on any kind of team like that, it's not going to be that same type of swagger to him. New Orleans always has had a swagger, even when they're bad. It's something about that squad down there. There's always the Superdome. There's always something.
The Bayou, baby.
Right. And I remember being an Atlanta Falcons fan back in the day, and that game right after Hurricane Katrina. Ain't nobody was beating them in the Superdome right after Hurricane Katrina. I mean, yeah. So there's just something to that place. And I think if you pop him down there, he'll add that spark, that energy. Even when Jameis was down there, he added that spark, that energy to that team. That'd be a perfect fit for sure right there at New Orleans, man. But I just feel like this draft, another team that could stretch for a quarterback that nobody's really talking about is the team that you mentioned, Carolina. Because with Trae Young, I mean, you don't know. You don't know right now with Trae Young. You need some big players to come in there. But, man, I'm just excited for this draft. I think it's going to be a good one. A lot of hits in this draft. I feel like a lot of big moves because nobody's been trading yet. And that's the thing that everybody's been talking about, too, is nobody's traded, nobody's moved yet. So if anybody's
draft night's going to be crazy.
It's gonna be interesting. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. It's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait.
So before we run, we've been running pretty good here today, and I'm excited. This episode been amazing. We got one more bulletin to cover. Let's do it. The sleeper pick, the most important player in the draft right now. And I'm gonna go first, and we're gonna leave off with we're gonna end this off with your opinion on this one here. And because we were just talking about Tampa, I'm gonna bring it to Tampa. If Tampa, I got this one guy in my mind that I want out of the draft. Last year we got three of the guys that I wanted, and I couldn't believe it. And one of them is going to end up playing for it. That's ELOOO, the linebacker that we got from Florida State. That guy's a 4.3 runner. I can't wait to see him on the field for Tampa Bay next year. He was very aggressive. It's going to be beautiful. So this year, if we can add Georgia safety, Malachi Starks? If we add Malachi Starks to the secondary with Antoine Whitfield back there, and somewhere in the late rounds we can add another nickel cornerback, we would love for Shedeur to go over there to New Orleans. We would love for New Orleans because it would look beautiful. Our defense would be, our secondary would be complete, our front seven would be complete. That is all we're missing is two pieces in that secondary, and Malachi Starks could be a piece that we need heavily. So to me, that is the sleeper pick. The way that everything is lining up, like we just talked about with our first 5 picks, within the first 10 to 15, I don't see him coming off the board because the need is so high on the offensive side of those first 10 teams that I believe that Malachi Starks can fall to us, man. So to me, that is my sleeper pick. I'm looking for Malachi Starks to end up in Tampa Bay this year, man.
I love it. I love that pick right there. I have two guys.
Okay.
One's not so much a sleeper. First guy I'm looking at, a name that just jumped off as I'm looking through prospects here. Mika, I can't say his name. Ibigwa, right there out of Ohio State. You know who I'm talking about. Big old 6'6", 240. I mean, big wide receiver out of Ohio State. Maybe didn't get the same looks as he did Jackson Smith-Njigba out of that team as well. I mean, Ohio State's had some wide receivers coming out of that squad that people aren't really paying attention to.
Right.
6'6", 220, 230, a big boy right there out of that wide receiver spot. You throw him the ball, he's going to be throwing elbows, some end zone throws right there as well. I mean, that's going to be a sleeper pick. Another guy nobody's really paying attention to, Omari Hampton out of North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Another guy. Out of the
I almost picked him. I almost picked him as my sleeper guy. Omari Hampton will make a difference. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes. One of those running back picks that's kind of falling down the board. As we all know, some of those guys just fall just because of the bigger names, kind of push them down a little bit. Doesn't mean they're bad players. Doesn't mean they're not as good as those top guys. In some cases, it's actually better, ELOOO, to fall down to those lower spots because you're actually going to end up on a good team. You know what I'm saying? You might end up on a Super Bowl team. You might win the Super Bowl in your first year just because of where you fall in the draft. And I think I forgot who they were speaking with the other day. They're like, well, we see you projected at 24, 25 to Baltimore. And, in years past, the kid would get discouraged, like, man, I'm going to be the 25th pick, 26th pick. I'm not going to be top 10. But the kid realized, hey, I might end up on the Ravens. Like, okay,
on the Ravens,
cool.
Yeah. Legendary defense.
Yeah. So Omari Hampton and then a big one out of Ohio State. I think those two guys that could come in, make immediate impacts, but not be those top draft picks that we've been talking about here this morning.
Man, that's beautiful, man. It sounds like we're about to have a great time in the next couple of days with the draft. I can't wait for it. It's been amazing sitting here breaking it down with you, Will. I look forward to chopping it up. We're going to definitely in the next couple of days get an episode about the college football. We got NBA basketball playoffs going on right now. We're in the middle of baseball season. So we got plenty to talk about over the next couple of weeks, man. Again, it's been amazing having you on with us. Everybody that's out there watching us, I hope that you guys like, subscribe, share it with some people, especially you sports fans. Share it out. You guys comment up under here. Give us some more topics to speak on. We'll be back sooner than later. I'm trying to stay as consistent as possible with it. So you guys go out there, you hit that button, share that button, and guys, listen. It's been an amazing morning. Sip you some coffee, put a smile on your face so you can put a smile on somebody else's face, and we can make the community better. And like my boy Will just said, hey, y'all have a good day. Hey, Will, you got anything for them before you leave, man? Tell them where they can find you at.
Hey, find me at Big Will XZ on IG if you want some running content as well. I do XZ runs on there, some running, some 5Ks, some health stuff on there. Go check me out. Big Will XZ on Instagram is my regular thing on there, ELOOO. And I can't wait to talk some more sports with you, man. It's NBA playoff time.
So,
As Pat McAfee says, be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. There you go, my man. Everybody have a great day. I can't wait to be on here with you again here, ELOOO. And man, this has just been a great morning. No better way to start the day than to talk some sports. That's for sure.
exactly. All right, man. One finger, two finger, peace, man. Major love, everybody.